Welcome to the King Connections podcast. I'm your host, King. Today, I'm honored and definitely blessed to have a gentleman who I met through another connection. Got a chance to build with the brother, learn about a lot about him. Very impressed with his mentality, his principles, more importantly, his purpose in life. We're definitely aligned in that perspective. So I want to bring to the King Connection podcast. See Larry, he has King as well. Larry King, Paul, Richard Capitalist. Welcome to the King Connection podcast. Larry, how you doing today?
I'm all right, man. I appreciate you for inviting me on and for that gracious welcome that you just gave me, man. I really do, man. So thanks for inviting me on.
Well, thank you for your investment of time and energy. Looking forward to today's show and get a listening audience an opportunity to learn about you and really learn about your purpose in life. So I think it's very powerful. So before we begin, the first question I always like to ask to kind of set the context, is what do you see? Uh, what would you say your spiritual energy number is today? Being in a range from zero being life sucks to 10 being life is awesome.
My spiritual energy number is 10. It's always at a 10. There is no ever life sucks. There are moments, where things that you don't want to happen, but every moment your eyes is open and you conscious, you should be at a 10. So that's how I feel, and I'm fine with every other thought process, but that's how I'm at a 10 all the time,
Hey, brother, we're aligned in that logic, man. Because I asked that question mainly because, like I said, I believe, like Albert Einstein says, that energy is everything, and everything is energy.
man.
And I've learned through having people around me and build relationships that, you know, having meetings. I asked that question because if people are twos or threes that's in attendance in my meetings and my presentations, then they're not going to be present. They're not going to be engaged. They're going to be adversarial. You know what I'm saying? So it's best not to even have that kind of meeting with a person at that two or three level. But when people are nines and tens, I look at that as that's where the infinite possibilities can happen. Miracles come from that, and co-creation can definitely encourage. So I thank you for, indulging me with that question for sure.
Hey, that's honestly that's an amazing way to start, right? Like I'm really big into vibrations, so energy. When I hear that, I think of vibrations, and absolutely right. When you get a match at a 9 or a 10, you can create greatness, man. That's an amazing way to think.
Absolutely appreciate it. See, we align right there, So several things we align with. That's why I said I'm definitely looking forward to this. So let's get it started. So, with all the things that I had a chance to learn about you over these last couple of weeks, as well as reading your bio, do my research on you, what do you see as your purpose in life?
This I feel like your purpose constantly changes. Um so for me right now, I feel like my purpose in life is to remind people to always keep dreaming. When you talk to me, I I want to always focus on bigger, better, visionary ideas. One quote that stuck with me. I wish I knew who wrote it. I just have a list of quotes that I remember and I write it down sometimes. But it was that the American dream isn't dead. The American dreamer is. And so people limit themselves in their thought process. And so I feel like my purpose is to get people to remember how to dream again.
That's what's up. That's powerful.
And so
Now, this next question, this term gets thrown out quite a bit. People use it for different descriptions. And I always, because it's used so many different ways, I always have to ask a person who I believe exhibited traits
mm,
of being a conscious leader. So I'm
mm.
curious, how will you define a conscious leader?
Mm. Oh, I would have to take I would have to break that down, right? So a lot of people feel like they're conscious, and they are, but to me you have to be able to be a free thinker, right? And to be a free thinker, that means you have to not deal with a lot of stress, right? Or you can't have a lot of negativity in your life, because when you have these free thoughts, you want them to be positive. You want them to be things that you can share with other people and create and gather on. You can't do that with negative. So I think one of the main things of being a conscious leader is having that positive that mindset of bigger and better. And leader is a yin and yang, right? Leaders are chosen and then they decide to be leaders. So it's somebody that is willing to share their thoughts with the big crowd, not only just behind closed doors with the people that they trust, because that leader is going to get targeted for their beliefs, for their thoughts, even though they could be representing a collective, right? And we can look at that into even politics, right? And so we vote, and there's a lot of people who voted for this person. This person speaks, and they represent a lot of people, even though we might not agree with them or things like that, right? But even still, I think to be a conscious leader, you really have to have free thought. You have to have a lot of love in your heart, and you have to be willing to say the things that need to be said, but say them in a way that you're connecting, and you're saying it with a purpose, never to hurt people, but to enlighten people. You know what I mean? And sometimes we get conflicted with our emotions, and like with Kanye, sometimes we get upset and we start, instead of trying to make ourselves feel better, we try to make other people feel worse. And
Mm,
that's not what we want to do when we use our words. We just want to make ourselves feel better. You know what I
abs-
mean? So to me, that's what a conscious, he uses his thoughts to convey how he and the people he represents or she represents and how they feel, always mentally thinking about the emotional effect it has on them and their counterparts.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Powerful definition. So I know you've been through quite a bit in your life. You have newborn child, married, accomplished several things financially in your life, created companies. Now, of all the things you've done, what would you say you're most grateful for?
Um, I'm most grateful for the opportunity I got at the Devereux Foundation. The Devereux Foundation was where I started. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was creating my own company, and I got to run. So Devereux Foundation is a place where they have rules and things, and they place kids in your home, but each parent or home that a child is placed in is run completely different, as if it's their own business. You know what I mean? And so number one, it fulfilled me because my family always had a way to help. We have a community centers in my old neighborhood and things like that. So like my helping is a part of my DNA. And so being a foster parent, it gave me a way to work with children, but I was more a behavioral youth specialist. So I got to work specifically with kids who had bad behaviors. Some kids may have been coming in from foster care, or some kids may have been placed by their parents, but they had specific behaviors that they needed to work on. And I would help them modify those behaviors. I had a temporary program, normally between 9 and 18 months, but I did have some kids who spent up to 2 years with me because of circumstantial. But that was, I learned so much at that job, man. I got to help so many people. I had 27 kids in my program over the 6 years that I was there. And I feel like me and my partner did great work, but it taught me the most important thing. And it's that kids are copycats. So if you want to help broken kids, you got to fix adults, because most kids get their traumas and stuff like that from us. That,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? And so that's kind of what transitioned me into everything I am today. The Devereux Foundation, I appreciated them. Oh man, it was 5.5 years of good work. So that's what I think I'm most thankful for.
Okay. Okay. Now, what would you say are three behavior traits that you possess that best describe you?
Hmm. Behavioral traits. Okay. This is a difficult question because talking about me, right? But I would have to say I'm pretty loyal. If we're on the same team and if we're after the same goal, you can 9 out of 10 you can count on me. I'm very good with communication, not only verbally speaking and things like that, but I mean, if me and you are in contact with each other, you probably hear from me every once in a while. I like to touch base with the people that are in my life. If you're a business partner, you talk to me often. If you're a family member, you talk to me often, or you at least see me here and there. So I try to make sure communication is very important. And mm, I guess I would have to say honest, man. I feel like being a person of your word is very important in this world, and it sets the foundation of who people recommend you to, or if they can feel like they trust you. I only recommend people that I feel like I can trust, and that starts with you keeping your word to me and me keeping my word to you. So those are the three characteristics I would probably say: communication, trust, and I forgot the first one I said. Help me out.
the, the first well, I thought the first one was communication. My apologies.
Oh, see, I might only said two. And I'm not great at talking about myself. And so and then punctuality. I'm pretty on time for most things. So I'll go with that.
Okay, all right, respect that. Now
Yes.
we're going to shift now into your business, and I'm curious to know um, what inspired you to create your company, Culture Change, and
Okay.
what's the mission of it as well.
Yes. So culture change, actually right after the Devereux Foundation, so 2020, the world shut down, right? So I stopped being a foster parent for a little bit because I didn't know what was going on with COVID, and my wife was 6 months pregnant when the country shut down, right? And
Mm.
so I stopped being a foster parent, but I knew I still wanted to have an impact on my community. And then right around the same time, the George Floyd situation happened, and I just I got tired of seeing the victimization of black people on mass media. I got tired of people feeling like there was no answers or nothing that they could do. I went to a few rallies and I heard some of the things that were being spoken, and I just wasn't hearing much hope in the words that what I was hearing. And then I was hearing a lot of uh you need to help me, we need this organization or this entity to do this. And it was like it felt like people don't understand how much power that they have. And so I created culture change, one, because I wanted to unify our people. And when I say our people, I'm more so talking about generations. When you talk to a young person, and I'm going to speak specifically to my area. I'm from Trenton, New Jersey, and so that's where I do a lot of my work at. And when you speak with a young person from Trenton, New Jersey, and you ask them how would they want to fix, what would they do if they would fix it, or why do they think we're in the situation that we're in? They do a lot of blaming on the old generation, right? They didn't do anything. They got hooked on drugs. They didn't teach us structure or how to pass anything down. They don't give us opportunities. A lot of victimhood, right? And then if I go to the older generation, I was hearing a lot of young people don't want to listen, they're not gonna work, a lot of negativity towards opposite sides. And so I work with older people, they don't see me that way. I work with younger people, they don't see me as an older person that's not listening to them and as one of these people, even though now I'm right in there, I'm 34 years old. So for somebody that's 18, they look at me as an old head, but for somebody who's 55, probably looks at me as a young man, right? And so it's just I look at myself as the connector to bridging that gap. And so my mission in culture change was to end poverty. And in order to do that, you have to understand there's three types of poverty. And that's when we get into mental poverty, um, you get into financial poverty, which most people feel like they're in, and then you have emotional poverty. And so I do a little bit of educating about the three stages of poverty, how to be more wealthy in those, and how they correlate, right? Mental poverty is just not knowing enough information or not having a great skill. In order to be a part of the collective, in order to feel validated in society, you do have to be a contributing factor to society. That means having a skill, right? I went to college, I have an accounting degree. I use my accounting skills to be a contributing part of society, right? And so you got to start with some type of foundation, some type of knowledge, some kind of skill, right? Once you have that, you can use that skill to get out of financial poverty, right? Creating businesses, ownership. That's where we get in. I love what you do with your property ownership, because for me, starting a business, owning property, it's all ownership, right? Over time, your value is going to go up. You got an asset you can sell. You got some power, right? And so I'm all about that. And then emotional poverty. Now, this is the one where most people struggle with the most, and that's simply feeling good about the decisions you make, the people you're around, and the person you are, on a daily basis. There's a lot of rich people who committed suicide because they were emotionally, they didn't have emotional wealth. They didn't feel good about how they obtained their financial wealth. They didn't connect with enough people in their kind of position. And so, these are some of the types of things you learn when you become in these types of financial situations. If you're somebody from Trenton, New Jersey, you grew up, all your family and friends are from this economic class, you make a lot of money, now you live here. You can meet your neighbors and you can absolutely connect with them, but they aren't the people that you feel like you care about and love and who help build you into that person. You want to enjoy those things with that. And so that's kind of what made me create Culture Change. So I wanted to take my resource, my knowledge, my skills, and I wanted to take it back to my community so they could use it to help thrive and grow and things like that. And with that, I've helped I've cultivated partnerships in the city because I just started to run some numbers. You know what I mean? I looked at how many nonprofits were in the community. It's 3,000 nonprofits in the greater Trenton area. And so I just looked up which ones do what, make sure that when they do events, they connect with these guys to make a bigger impact, right? When we're doing something, when we're trying to help people, it's all about the impact. Well, one person doing something can make a decent impact, but two people doing something makes 10 times the impact that one person does. At least that's what it says in the Bible. So, you know, you gotta have a foundation. You gotta have some type of understanding of where we are and where we're going. And so Culture Change, we do a lot of that, a lot of educating, and I have a good team of professionals from marketing to business, banking, to all different types of things, who come and educate the community so kids know that they can be all of these things. When I was growing up, I didn't think I could be the CEO of a bank because I didn't know the pathway to being the CEO to a bank. Now you take that to somebody in the second grade right now they understand that pathway. If that's something that they want to do, they can create that. So creating opportunities, man, showing our community that poverty doesn't have to exist. It's a mindset that we can change at any time. And so that's what I created Culture Change for. And it's catching on, man. It's growing. It's something that I feel I started in Trenton because my home is small and that's where I'm from. But it's something that pretty much is something that every community, from Chicago to Philadelphia to Detroit, to any community where you have a lot of poverty, a lot of violence, and a lot of Black people, I want to help them, and I want them to understand economics is the way to freedom. You understand? And so it's that basics, and then just getting them to understand where their skill is at. You can't force people to do something they don't want to do, and so you got to help cultivate what their skill is around what you're doing, and that creates the best kind of partnership. So that's kind of what I'm doing at Culture Change.
It's powerful. It's powerful. Love it. Appreciate it. Definitely want to explore how we can do some collaborations in the future for sure. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? Because a lot of things you said is definitely in line with what I believe. I'm a connector as well, and we'll definitely build on that on some other things. But want to continue to keep building on the show here.
Absolutely.
Now, the next question is, how would you define, and I know this is a term that's pretty, folks who are familiar with it, they know what it is. But again, I like to ask a person who is exhibiting the behavior because they may see it differently.
Hmm.
So it's going to be a two-part question. Number one, how would you define a venture capitalist? And then you added another thing to it, which I haven't heard before, and I'm curious to know what you mean by this: a
Hmm.
social equity consultant.
Okay.
So give me a definition of both of those, please.
Okay. So a venture capitalist. So what that is that is a term that was already created, right? So I didn't create what a venture capitalist is, but pretty much that's a group of professionals that go into that, put money together, right? And they go into it. But the venture capitalist is the group that controls what is done with the money, right? So like they say, this investment in this community is good because of this. They lay out the parameters, and it might have an accountant, an engineer, and an architect on the staff, right? And so a venture capitalist firm is kind of what I've been creating. I work with a company in Trenton called Greater Trenton, and they pretty much are focused on rebuilding downtown Trenton and bringing in big business and things like that. And so with some of the friendships, me and a lot of my friends, we went to school, we graduated, and so I just started asking this person, what do you do, what do you do, that they're able to help. And so we pretty much do what you do in Baltimore, but we focus on teaching other people in the community how to do it too. So how to purchase groups of blocks of property, right? We're having a vision of what that property is going to be before you get it, whether that's going to be residential for homes or whether it's going to be commercial for business purposes, and then understanding how you're going to invest in it, whether you're going to be a worker in it or just an investor with money in it. And so it's a lot of components to it, but that's pretty much what a venture capitalist is: seeing opportunities in a community and taking advantage of it with your resources. So that's my long-winded definition of that. And my second one, this is fun. So social equity consultant. um if you look out there, you have and I'm a part of the cannabis space. I do some cannabis consulting and things like that, and they have social equity departments in these companies, or in other companies they have DEI, right, diversity, equity, inclusion
Yeah.
departments. And these are departments that are created to give certain groups of people opportunities, right? Now, the real problem is they've created these things in these companies, but there are people who don't know about these opportunities, right? And so what I do is I learn about different opportunities that's out there, different organizations that are looking to hire, looking to work with new people, setting up these departments. And I look to get people who are qualified to handle that, and I try to get them placed. So it's kind of like being a broker as well, right? Like I help people. There's jobs being created and money being allocated for these jobs. I help these companies find qualified individuals who fit what they're looking for. Some funds have like I do some work with government, right? Government grants and things like that. And some grants are specifically tailored to people of color. You can apply for the money. It could be sitting there for 5 years. If the parameters of the grant aren't met, they're going to have to redistribute it with one of the councilmen again, or you're gonna have to sit there and wait for people to meet it. So that's kind of the work that I do. And then I have my financial services company where I help people build business plans, and we help them get the loans, because most people's issue is they don't have the money to do the things that they want to do. And so for me, the easiest way or the best way to get money for most people is focusing on your business plan and showing an investor how, what your plan is. A lot of people have it up here, but they don't write it out and have it so they can hand it to you and show you, this is what my plan is. And so I help people get that out their heads so they can take that to the bank, to the government, to their investor, whoever they're looking to borrow money from, and they can actually show how they would pay it back and have better odds of getting money. So it's again, everything that I do is about empowerment. Empowerment for my people. I've gotten lucky and learned that ownership is the way to success. So I'm a part owner in a trucking company. I own my own home, and because of these things, I've seen my value rise over time. And I'm like, oh, it happened because I owned that. So maybe if other people learn how to own other things and learn how to make money out of the things that they own, they'll be able to be financially free too. And then you can really enjoy the place that we live in. This is a really hard place when all you can focus on is your problems, or and you create a victim out of yourself. And I really want people to understand that we control that mindset of our reality. We control that. You don't have to have that. And then I like to assist. I always come with help. It's good to see that people trying to help themselves, and that's awesome. But it's good for those people to know it's somebody out here that's trying to help you just because you out here, just because you need help, and do it in a dignified way. Don't make it feel like, they owe you something. That person is a person. You know what I mean? You owe them help just for them existing, really. They don't owe you anything. And that's the mindset. This is the mindset I operate with in order to do my work.
Absolutely. Powerful, brother. Powerful. Now, as a venture capitalist,
Mm.
as an investor, what type of projects are you seeking to fund or you like to invest in?
Definitely things with rebuilding, and again, ownership. I obviously, I'm getting in more so with commercial because I'm getting into helping rebuild my downtown area in Trenton. And so a lot of the investors are looking for commercial property right now, and what that means is having business owners who feel confident enough to say that I have an idea, and if I place my idea in this building, I can make money from it, right? And I won't see. A lot of people have fear of failure, and it's keeping them from starting. You know what I mean? And so right now I'm focused on working with a lot of small businesses to help them get the confidence to take these loans out. A lot of our cities have money. You know what I mean? A lot of our governments, especially from COVID, and there's money that's being allocated to all different types of stuff. But in order to access it, you got to have a plan, and you got to work with people. You can't do everything on your own. You got to work with other professionals who can execute another part of the plan that you can't, a little better than you. And and then again, it's all about impact for me, man. If you want to make a bigger impact, you work with more people. But for me, it's all about ownership. I want small groups of people to understand that if they all focus in our communities, like Philadelphia, Trenton, to own property is very cheap in those communities, right? And so these are good areas to rebuild in if you can see the vision, and if you can get blocks. Don't just do one house on the block. Try to get three, four, five. Try to get the whole block if you can. And if you can't do it by yourself, now that's where I want to come in, help people create organizations, or get in with investors where they can get into teaming up and buying pieces of property that they might not have been able to do on their own.
That's an excellent segue into my next question, which you pretty much already answered it, but I give you a chance to kind of expand a little more with this question here. And then, what are your thoughts about co-creating with others to achieve your higher purpose?
Oh man, it's my secret sauce to success. Like I tell, there's cheat codes to being wealthy in life. But that's getting a part of agriculture, right? Growing some stuff, right? Or ownership of property, and things like that. Almost everything in my house was delivered on the truck. So I knew that getting in truck, you know what I mean? But uh, I'm sorry, I can you ask that question one more time for me?
Yeah, what are your thoughts about co-creating with others?
I feel like partnerships is the new age cheat code to success.
Mm,
You know what I mean? So especially when both of the figures are respected in their fields, or multiple, because a lot of people are timid. We're taught, like, even in our music, no new friends, or be careful of strangers. But in order to do things you've never done, and to think thoughts you never thought, you got to talk to people you never talked to before. In my
absolutely.
community, everybody in my community thinks the same. We all dress the same, we talk the same. And so you're not gonna you may get a few people who have off thoughts here and there, but we have a group think mentality. In order to get out of that and expand, you need to co-create, and not just with people like you got to co-create with people that's different, man. I mean, different languages, different ethnicities, different religions. You got to get immersed in the world. You know what I mean? And that's also, for anybody. Let's just take it to a financial level. To me, there's only two ways to make money, and that's to sell a service or to sell a product. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? And in order to sell the most products or the most services, you got to connect with as many people as you can. If you're just trying to connect with one segment of people or one group of people, you're really limiting your product or your service. You know what I mean? And so co-creation is the secret. That's the secret key, man.
Love it. Love it. Now, I see that you, like I said, you say you're number 10. I see that. I feel that in your energy as well. And I'm just curious to know, outside of the servant leadership work that you do,
Mhm.
what do you do in life that brings you fulfillment?
I'm sorry. The last part was kind of muffled. Say that one more time.
Yeah. So outside of all the servant leadership work that you do, what do you do to bring you fulfillment?
Ah, okay. So for me, um, I was here to enjoy this place, but I enjoy this place when other people are enjoying this place. So I feel fulfilled when I help other people feel fulfilled.
Hmm.
And it's easy to tell when they're not, right? Even if their words are not saying it, because our faces were not made for us. You've seen my face more than me, okay? And so when you realize that,
I love that.
you can understand that I can always see what level you vibrating at. And then honestly, I can always find the words to get you to vibrate where I'm at. Cause it's kind of like light with darkness, right? So low vibration is darkness, but it can't exist in high vibration with light. You know what I mean? And so that's just, I don't know, man. I've had moments of enlightenment throughout my life. In certain ages, man, in certain times. And I had one when I was 20, 25, and I'll explain that to you a little bit later. I had one when I was 32, and I feel like I had another one earlier this year when I was 30, when I was 34. And when I say enlightenment, I mean thoughts started rushing into my head that I wasn't thinking before in an organized manner, so I could understand it and then I can explain it to others. And so it, it's crazy to stop and think about and talk about me because I feel like I've always been me. I've always been here, but some of the changes that I've took have been because of certain things that I've been through. And it's amazing, man. It really is, man. And one of my biggest influences, my biggest teacher, Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks, whatever you like to call her, man. If you listen to some of the things that she says and how she correlates it, I get a lot of that. But I just listen to a lot of people who vibrate high. I listen to Sadhguru. Um, oh man, there's another guy, Myron Golden. I've been binging your shows now because once you get people on that high vibration, they're gonna teach you something that you can apply to yours. And so, oh, it's amazing.
Wise words being spoken. I love, I've never heard anyone say this, so I'm definitely going to use this. I'm going to give you credit, but that's a powerful thing you said. You said that you see my face ain't for me. You see my face more than I do. I
Hmm.
love that. That's a very powerful perspective to look at meeting people and understanding what you bring to someone else and what someone else brings to you. So that's powerful, brother. I definitely love that. I definitely want to share that.
Please
Now,
do.
and you mentioned you kind of, you answered my questions a little bit, pre in your previous answers.
I gotta stop that, man.
No, no, I appreciate it. It shows again, like I said, you already showed me the alignment in the way you answering the questions that we're already in lockstep the way we're thinking. But I always like to give you an opportunity to expand even more because maybe it's more you want to say on that if the question is said in a different way. And so,
Hmm.
with that being said, of all decisions you made in your life, we make 1,000 decisions on a given day, hundreds of thousands of decisions in a lifetime. Is there one decision that you would say you've made that has been the most significant and most impactful in your life?
Yes, the decision that I made that I think has been the most impactful, and I want you to stick with me for a second. It has been to not conform with social with the normal standard for success, and I'm gonna explain to you what I mean by that. So
Mm.
I grew up in Trenton, New Jersey. I grew up with traumas. I had friends who died early and things like that. All the stuff that people who come from poor communities and poor Black communities deal with, right? And when I turned 19, I started smoking cannabis. And all throughout my young adulthood, or even throughout my now adulthood, the perception of what cannabis is and how it affects people and things like that. And so when I was younger, I've always been pretty intelligent, but I said I don't agree with some of the things that I'm hearing and I'm learning about this. And so me personally, I've set off to let people know cannabis is not an inhibitor on anything in our lives. And I don't do that to encourage people to use it. I do that to dignify people who do, because they have been targeted and have been treated like criminals for stumbling upon a medicine. Now, I understand if we were to get into a lot of drugs, right? And I don't want to sit here and make it sound like I'm advocating for that, because that's not what everything falls into. But once you do start to educate yourself and you start to understand CB1, CB2 receptors, you start to understand depression, you start to understand emotional elevation from this plant. And so then I said, okay, does it make me lazy? I've had a job my whole life. So I don't think it makes you lazy. Does it make you stupid? I sound pretty educated when I speak. At least that's what most people tell me. And so I don't think it does that. And so the biggest decision that I've made was to not allow society to tell me what cannabis does to you, but I allow me to tell people what cannabis does for society. And
Mm.
at this point, as you can see my pin on my chest, I'm what's called a certified ganjier. That means I know everything. I went to school to learn about how to be a scientist of cannabis. I know how to grow it. I know how to mass produce it. I know how to sell it, cultivate it. I know how to market it and distribute it, because that's what you do in industries, right? Just like in the cigarette, in the tobacco or the alcohol industry, right? And so if I would have not done that, I would have exited this community off, and they would not be able to. I get to educate the cannabis community on taxes, on money. I get to legally tell them now how to do their books now. I get to tell them that you don't have to go to jail for this, bro. Let me show you how to do this. Then we're gonna help you get a license. And so that is one of the best things. I'm proud of myself for not allowing other people to dictate how I thought about something. And it's very hard when you have majority of the people around you who are successful that did it differently and tell you different things. And then it's hard for them. I have aunts who are real estate agents and been successful, and they be like, man, Larry, you great, you smart, you just need to give up that reefer, man, and everything will be good for you. And I'm like, you don't understand, everything gonna be good for me anyway. You understand? Because it's
Right,
not about that. And if you
right.
make it about that, now you're exiting off your resource to me because of what you think I do. And so it's that is really the most the thing I am proud about the most, because now I get to take my accounting skills that I've practiced and got good at, and I help my friends who aren't great with money but know cannabis, and I help them create companies and run their companies well. And it's a great thing. And then again, with the social equity consultant, um businesses are amazing, they make money, and so they should all have a component where they help their community. And so that, to me, that's what social equity is for. That's what social impact is for, is to help your community. And so I automatically institute ideas on how their business structure, based on their profits, their model, on how they can already start helping their community. Now, a lot of these companies just help, they donate to me, they help me advance what I'm doing with culture change. And so that's amazing. And by them donating, they honestly help me do more of what I'm doing. So they are adding value. But we also do stuff like make sure that they understand ownership, man. We make sure that that people understand, like, people are employees temporarily. They may outgrow you, they may outgrow this space, but that's not for you to get mad at. That's for you to understand structure. So when they go, it's another opportunity for the next person, right? And that's how we should really be teaching, the cycle of our economics. College is good, because college is where you learn a skill and a focus. So I don't ever tell people don't go to college. Just like a trade, right? Trade schools are amazing, but they should be made with the point where if you feel like you outgrow an employer, that's when you need to be ready to start your own business. And we need to, make it more comfortable for these people to do that transition. A lot of people, they sign stuff with their employers. They think, oh, I can't go and start this now, right? Like how Kanye did with Adidas, right? Signed this non compete, so he couldn't do shoes for a few months until that was over, And so some people do lock themselves into that, but honestly, most people, you don't have that issue, man. So again, man, just progressive, positive thinking, man, moving things forward.
It's one other thing you left off your list of what they were wrong about cannabis. They said it makes you sterile. You've proven that wrong too.
Oh yeah, that's definitely wrong, man. But
So,
again, man, it's more so to get more people to feel comfortable, and to understand there is no bad. You know what I mean? Like people do bad things, man, but I really believe there are no bad people, man. And when you give people a chance to be good, they will surprise the heck out of you.
absolutely, absolutely. Now, speaking of people, again, you always give me excellent segues from my questions. Now I'm a connector, and as a connector, my business is building relationships. It's connecting other conscious leaders with other conscious leaders.
Mm-hmm.
So my engineering skills really help me out because I'm really methodical and systematic in how I go about vetting an individual before I make a connection.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to come up with what I consider to be key characteristics that I look for in an individual before I connect with them, and then definitely before I reconnect them to someone else. And then I realized in my exploration of that, analysis of that, I had to make sure I exhibit those characteristics too. So I can't be holding someone else accountable that I don't
And
exhibit them.
I ain't doing. Mm-hmm.
So I came up with it's two that I'm going to share with you that I feel are deal breakers if people don't have, which is a growth mindset and a grateful spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Now the other six can be we can work on, we can grow together, we can build upon it. But if you're not grateful and you don't have a growth mindset, that's to me those are deal breakers. Because I've seen and dealt business with people in the past who didn't have that and never went well.
Mm.
So I say all that context to say, are there any key characteristics that you look for when you're establishing a new connection with someone?
I guess it would depend on what connection I'm trying to establish. Right? Every connection isn't the same, right? Some people, if I'm trying to connect with a financial relationship, then there's certain requirements that I do think me and the other party should bring to the table, right? Because when you start in business or you're doing things, it's all about what we are bringing to the table to form what we're creating. But when it comes to my work and what I do, I really try to connect with anybody that exists, because the let's say, okay, if I find somebody out there who's at a one mindset, right, and I change them in front of people who have an eight mindset and they didn't want to deal with that one, that that looks like a miracle to the eights. And so I like to work with ones and twos to show eights and nines that they not far from tens. You feel me? Like they just because that's the gift that we have. We have the ability to change our vibrational state.
Mm,
You know what I mean? And so I could vibrate at a one. I choose not to ever. I don't ever let it happen. And I've been through things that you should that could allow you to become a one. Last year in the middle of COVID and me doing my organization, my godson passed away. His name was Caden Phillips. He was 8 years old. Um, there are some organizations that stop operating because of things like that. The VP of my company, it is her son. And so for that, there are things that have happened that could make you focus on one vibrational things, but it's a conscious effort to be positive. It's a mindset. That's why when you say what's a conscious leader, man, it's a person that decides to be a 10 every day. You know what I mean? All the time, because it's going to inspire other people who are at fives and six, because you never know. You never know when you'll catch me at a two, because I haven't been through every experience life has to offer. You know what I mean? But other tens job, other nines job is to get me back there. You know what I mean? And that's why co-creating is also so important, man. Because you never know how much importance you have to somebody else just because of the task you working on, and you just reaching out saying, "Yo, you okay?" could be everything. Can
Right.
change everything. You know what I mean? So yeah, man. I really don't limit my personal experiences on who I work with, but my professional financial experience. You have to evaluate those because I don't want to put me or anybody else in a bad situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And building upon that, one of the services I provide to conscious leaders is to help them identify who the right strategic partners are. Because when you really focus on your goals, and typically you're a small company, you don't really have time, or even a large company, you don't really have time to really think through who the best relationships and vet those individuals properly, how to invest the right time in the right people and cultivate the right relationships.
Hmm.
So, with that being said, I help those companies, individuals figure out here's a great strategic partner for you based on my understanding of who you are, what your goals, what your higher purpose is. So I'm curious to know who would be a great strategic partner for you that I can connect to you with.
Wow. This is funny. I have a couple. All right. Do you mind if I list like a few? Like,
Absolutely.
all right.
Absolutely.
All right. So, um, oh my gosh, now names are slipping me. Who's the owner of Amazon?
Jeff
Jeff
Bezos.
Bezos. I would like to meet Jeff Bezos just because he put out something that recently I seen. It was like he had a certain amount of money for somebody who could come up with a good idea on ending poverty, ending hunger, creative ideas and things like that. And I don't want to do it for the money. I just want him to hear my idea, and I would like to see if he's heard anything better. And so that me personally, that I would love to meet Jeff Bezos just to do that. Oh my gosh, Barack Obama, to say thank you. um as a person who followed politics, he didn't do everything politically that I would like, but as a black man, he represented my culture in a way that showed us in a light that I don't think everybody understood we had. You know what I mean? And so to me, that was the most important thing. He showed a black father, he showed a black husband, he showed unconditional love to his country, to his people. That was most important. So Barack Obama, I would love to meet. LeBron James, influence, impact, showing how to bring people from your community on, which create an opportunity, not give them things, creating opportunities. You know what I mean? His friends are agents now. They're financial analysts now. You know what I mean? These are people who aren't just tugging on the coats of
Media producers.
media producers. You understand what's going on. And so,
Absolutely.
I like to follow people. And Jay-Z, I mean, if I can meet Jay-Z, I mean, there's so many things I would like to talk to him about. Just because his influence, for good and bad, man, influence is a powerful thing, man. And because of image, some of these celebrities and stuff, they can't use their influence as much as they would want because their financial livelihood is on the line. And so I understand that, you know what I mean? But that's why I think it's hard for a famous person to lead the community resurgence efforts. You know what I mean? There's certain things you can't say. There's certain people that, you know, not that you should disrespect anybody or say anything that should get you in trouble, but anytime you have to think about what you're saying because of the reaction, you're being controlled. You know what I mean? And so I it's just I don't like putting LeBron in that predicament, right? Where people was coming at him because he has business ties with Jewish people. What is he supposed to stop working with Jewish people? Like that's not the way how we should be doing stuff. You know what I mean? So I would like to work with people who have that influence, who is ingrained in our community. But Jay-Z is a rapper. LeBron James is a basketball player. That's what they spend their days thinking about. Larry is a community activist. He's a venture capitalist. I'm always in the community. You know what I mean? I get to focus on that. I don't have to go to the gym and dribble. This is not a knock on LeBron or Jay-Z. I appreciate the creations that they made in the studio and on the court. LeBron, my favorite player. You know what I mean? But they got to be the best player in the world and rebuild our communities and because they got money. I mean, I don't think that's fair. you
That's
know, and
powerful.
you
That's
know,
powerful.
and
Yeah.
so I would like to talk with them to learn their plans a little bit and help them out, honestly, because they all still doing work for the community, you
I
know.
see. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
You were
no, no, no,
done?
no. Go ahead. That now I do you I've again I listen to your podcast. So I do have some king connections that I would like to, throw at you. There are two people that I listen to some interviews. There's actually a few of them, to be honest with you, but king connections from podcasts that really caught my ear. Keith Steinkamp, um, David Wagstaff, and Ronnie Lucas. Those three people I would really like to meet, and that's no disrespect to the ladies, because I was listening to a few of the lady podcasts, and there's a few that I wanted to mention, but I didn't want to name too many names, and so I had to stick to the top three. But those three, CFO, that's right up with my accounting background. Keith Steinkamp, he dropped a lot of gems on here that I wish a lot of people could hear. You know what I mean? And so that was amazing. Ronnie Lucas talked a lot about purpose, and like a lot of people are struggling with their purpose, and I think a little bit of purpose guidance is good. And so I thought that was good. And and so that's where I'm gonna end it at. Those are like the king connections that I've listened to, that I was like, man, I think if I was to speak with those people, we could create something.
That's what's up. You asked two questions in that one. Thank you for that, brother.
Hmm.
Thank you for that. So we're down to two more final questions I want to ask. Now, one of the questions I always like to ask this question because the media, I believe, tries to control us. I always tell folks, either you're working off your plan or you're working off somebody else's plan. There is no middle ground. And the media's plan is to keep us distressed, preoccupied, victim mentality, and fearful. That's what the news they throw at us constantly on. So my question for you: are there any morning rituals that you do to help you push that side that and keep that energy away from you that you can share our listening audience?
Thank God we got social media, right? And so like most people I know, we don't watch the news or listen to the news anymore and things like that. It's more we're getting our news from our personal sites and stuff like that. But I do have a few morning rituals because I believe the body is a temple, and I believe it starts with the mind. And so the first thing I do when I wake up, it's kind of a mental thing, but it's appreciation, because I have no idea how I can see and how I can hear. I just could do those things. You understand? And so I really do. So my workstation is in my basement. So I normally have my little routine where I go downstairs. I start my day off with just a glass of water, and then I do my 15-minute meditation. It's more so just of silence, and I say nice things to myself. I believe a lot of people, when we make mistakes, we get very nasty with ourselves. You should have did that better. I'm a piece of crap. We say things not thinking about how we're talking about ourselves, and we're manifestors, and self-actualizers. So if you say these things, this is what you will become, and this is what you'll be. So I say nice things to myself. I talk to inner Larry. That's actually where King came from. King is inner Larry, and so I talk and so that's kind of my morning ritual. And then I do like to end my meditation off with some music. I do have certain songs that put me in I like to work out every other day. Sorry about that. i
No
like to
problem.
work i like to work out every other day and stuff. Booty, I'm doing something.
Hey, we
So,
got I appreciate the investment during family time, brother. Thank you.
no problem. Here you go. All right. Sorry about that. And so
No
I'm
problem.
sorry. What was the question? Can we
Well,
go
yeah, you basically asking the morning rituals, and you were saying
Oh,
how
morning rituals. Yes.
you meditate.
And then I ended off with some music, because normally other people's mindsets, they get me into a different spirit than I can get myself. When I hear certain rappers or certain singers, they just get me vibrating at a level I probably wouldn't be able to get myself with the positive thinking. Because when rappers talk about themselves or they talk about their money, when we're rapping, I envision myself. You know, I
Mhm.
don't envision Jay-Z with this stuff. I envision me with this stuff. And so it's more so, again, it's more so a way to start my day feeling good about myself. And then because I know that I'm gonna give everybody else 100% once they see me. And so I can't do that to them and not do it to myself at the same time. So I like to start my morning off with a little appreciation for, God, what God created, a little bit of appreciation for yourself, and then you can give the rest out to everybody else throughout the day.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then the last question, brother, we're gonna wrap this thing up.
Mm,
And this question, I always learn so much about a person, and also get some great books from this as well.
mm.
And that would be: is there a book that you recommend that has been the most meaningful, most impactful, most influential in your life that you want to share with the listening audience?
Absolutely. And it's funny, I told you I was going to tell you later about my first enlightenment. So at 25, I was working at AT&T and I was recommended a book called Think and Grow Rich from my manager at the time. His name was Jay Grady. Think and Grow Rich is the best book I've ever read, and I'm a big reader. So really close second place is 21 Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell, but
Mhm.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill has set a foundation for me. It's helped me become a better person. It's helped me become a better dad before I even had kids. It's just so many principles on just not just business or how to be successful, because that's really what the book was about, right? It was really like a strategic guide on how to be successful, but it really ended up being a bit more than that, because it was more than just finance. It was more so about just doing things and having a way to think yourself to riches. And honestly, the title Think and Grow Rich, it's perfect. So if I had to recommend a book, man, that is the book I would recommend. It changed my life at 25. Once I read it at 26, I became a foster parent, and that kind of set me down the life that I lead right now, man.
Brother, great choices. Definitely a very powerful, influential book in my life as well.
Mm,
I read this book the original book that Think and Grow Rich came out of, which was the 17 lessons of the law of success.
mm,
And then he took that because that was like multi 4 volumes.
mm,
But I love it. Napoleon Hill has definitely been influential, and everybody who is motivational, successful, he's the catalyst and put that spark in people's minds about what they can do. As you say, you got to think it first, then you live it. But as we, conclude the interview, I want to get an opportunity to share any closing thoughts you might have with our listening audience, as well as any contact information if people who resonate with what you said today, they want to reach out and connect with
absolutely. I'll go on closing thoughts. One thing I always like to tell people is the way that we really start making change is we gotta stop creating bad guys. And when I say we gotta stop creating bad guys, when you meet people and they'll say the government is always doing this, or you meet people and they say their boss is always doing this, what they're doing is they're creating a bad guy. They're creating somebody to complain about, somebody to target. They're creating a victim out of themselves. And we gotta get out of the victim mindset, because nothing is happening to us. Everything is happening for us. All right.
you.
And so once you start thinking that way, you're gonna start receiving the blessing. So that I really like to always make sure everybody has that little tidbit. If you do want to connect with me, you can catch me on Instagram at Culture Change 2020. You can also find us at our website at myculturechange.com, because it is not just for me, it is all of ours. So when you type in my, it really is yours, and it gives you an opportunity to see some of the work we do, from community restoration. We do park restoration, street restorations. We purchase abandoned property, fix it up, and sell it back to the community through better community housing. So it's a lot of good work. And if anybody would like to help out and become a changer, there's links and stuff. So yeah, I think actually the website is going through a revamp. The top of the year of 2023, you're going to be bigger, better, newer. Everything is added. We had to change our space because we were having more visitors and our site kept crashing. So more visitors is always a good thing, but you got to be able to control the network. So top of the year, we'll be good at that. But you could definitely catch us on Instagram. I think our name is the same on Twitter as well. And that's it.
Well, brother, I definitely appreciate again the investment of time and energy. You dropped some words of wisdom today, some truly, I'd like to say, profound nuggets that people can take with them, useful resources. The energy you brought, thank you for that. Taking the time during the holidays to share and enlighten us with the conversation. So as we wrap things up, again, I want to thank Larry King Paul for this excellent interview, for putting all your heart and time through this, as well as I want to thank our listening audience for listening to another episode of King Connections podcast, and wish everybody a wonderful holiday season. And until our next episode, everyone be blessed and be productive.
Thanks for
Thank you.
having me.